Even punk's originators found the form restrictive.
What you said, the way that you said it, the clothes you wore, the purists were really trying to freeze the music. The punk.
One band was determined not to sound like everyone else and move beyond the limits of punk.
The band for the 70s into the 80s, to me, the band was really the Clash as far as what came out of punk rock that cracked the mainstream, but for good reason. The Clash took their music and kept changing it and boldly experimented. It's the band U2 wishes they could be.
Formed in England in 1976, the Clash produced socially conscious, sonically abrasive music. In 1980, the band's double album, London Calling, became a surprise commercial success in the U.S.
Thankfully, we had another home in America where people weren't so up themselves about whether it was punk or wasn't it. You know, they could just see, hey, this is a good rock group. So we could kind of escape the very constricting British punk scene, and that freed us up a lot.
London Calling broke the rules of punk by combining elements of reggae, rockabilly, and R&B with punk's passion and speed. With 1982's top 5 hit, Rock the Casbah, the Clash came closer to pop stardom than any punk band at that time.
The Clash cracked that mainstream. They even got into bright clothes, but they still kept some of their punk following. Like you listen to Rock the Casbah. It's not as raw as the first Clash album, but it sure is good.
Still, some of punk's critics viewed the Clash's success as a betrayal.
New wave means it's cat. New wave means it's pussyfooting. Can't go all the way there, but wants to go halfway there, but hasn't got the guts to go the whole way. So, new wave just made us vomit on the floor.
The ground. Its sound was angrier, grittier, and far more skeptical of commercial culture.
There's a few different versions of the 80s. There was the 80s I was living in, which was Black Flag, DOA, the Dead Kennedys, Social Distortion, Minor Threat, the Bad Brains. Then the 80s also means Michael Jackson, Thriller. It was what altitude you were flying at. We were just like all those people with all those frustrations in the audience. We're coming from them, singing to them. It was folk music. So yeah, it totally connected. That's how we found out about bands on the East Coast. We'd read about the West Coast bands. Ooh, better buy that record. Read about it on the flip side. It's got to be cool.
In the do-it-yourself spirit, smaller independent labels sprang up to meet the needs of this new music. While mainstream bands dreamed of MTV airplay and rock superstardom, alternative bands were emphatic on one subject. They were in it for the music.
I never had any idea of ever making money off music, because we lived in a hovel, we played in grungy clubs, and we lived in a van. Mainstream aspirations, radio airplay, and money were never part of the equation, ever.